Welcome to Conversations with Bob and Sherry. This is episode 3. Today we're going to discuss the congressional Republicans, specifically the agenda of the Judiciary Committee and the Oversight Committee that was recently announced. We have some thoughts on the FTX situation, and Sherry's going to read us a couple of headlines of interest.
Well, thank you, Bob. Being that the flu season is upon us and we have gone through a couple years of COVID-19, I thought there was a couple headlines that's kind of interesting. This one was on CNN. It was posted May 11th, 2022. It was May of this year, and I just kind of caught on with it. And the headline says, growing share of COVID-19 death are among vaccinated people, but booster shots substantially lower the risk. And this was a report on Deidre McPhillips, and looks like there's Sanjay Gupta, which is a CNN, the contributing doctor in CNN. There was a clip of him on that, which I felt that was interesting. Another headline, it was sent to me by a friend of mine, and I did some research on it. This is from wwmt.com. So this is actually a local CBS affiliate channel that is affiliate of CBS. So I'll just read you the headline real quick in the first paragraph. It says, Pfizer Moderna researching rare side effect linked to COVID vaccines. With triple threats of virus sweeping across the country, pharmaceutical companies have launched their own clinical trial on COVID vaccines in young adults and also possible impact of heart conditions. And if you go down the article, this is the interesting part. Well, we've known for about a year that in young people, mostly males, but in females as well, we seem to have vaccine-induced myocarditis. That's an inflammation of the heart muscle only associated so far with the mRNA vaccines. For quite some time now, we've known since the summer of 2020 that almost all of the serious illness and deaths occur in people who are over age of 50 and usually have other comorbidities. Singer explained. So I posted these two headlines, Bob, on our Facebook page. So if people wanted to go and read more about it, they can. I'm not going to put my own spin on it. I just want people to read it. And these are all from mainstream media resources. So there we go.
You're not going to comment at all?
No. I think the headlines pretty much speak for itself.
Well,
you can comment.
I mean, I guess the second one you mentioned about the myocarditis, I mean, it's good that they mentioned that that's been known for a long time, because it has. It's been clear since they rolled this vaccine out into the younger people that there's a higher risk of this myocarditis. In fact, they initially, one of the age groups, it might have been the under 18, when they released the vaccine, if you recall, they stopped it. And they went back to because of the myocarditis problems. And I believe they lowered the dose. So you have a disease with the virus has a much lower risk with the younger people, but the vaccine has a much higher risk in the young people. So it's just not a one size fits all. And I mean, I'm glad someone's finally going to do a trial specifically for that. But why has it been a year and a half, 2 years that this has been going on?
And there is a statistic from CDC on the effects of the vaccination to specifically male from 8 to 24-year-old. The myocarditis incidence and then the sudden death syndrome. And I'll get that chart. I will post it onto our Facebook and people can read about it. But it is interesting to me. We're at 2022 and the talk of myocarditis has been going around for a while, but it was suppressed in the mainstream media. It was saying to be very, very rare. And the people have talked about it were surprised on Twitter and all social media. But now the mainstream media are saying the same thing, that for a year and a half, they're saying these are conspiracy theorists. So, but I'll find the chart. The chart give a very good indication of it. It break down to 8 to 16-year-old, then I think is and all the way to 24-year-old. So there we go.
So you mentioned the media has changed, and see that's one of my problems, with calling what happened science. Every time you go for a medical procedure, they list all of the potential risks, the complications, and then they have you sign consent. So your doctor goes over with you. I'm recommending this procedure. Here's why. It might help you, is usually what they say. And there are some chances for risk. Now, most of the procedures, there's a very, very low chance of risk and, a higher chance that, it's going to help whatever situation you're having. But that's informed consent. And, that's science. That is how medical science works. But so when you have these vaccines come out where it's the reporting is all skewed towards encouraging people to take it and even, insulting people who question it, that's not science. And that's just
I don't know if you remember when this first came out, there was 2 doctors in California, and they are virologists, and they are actually, they go to the hospital, they treat people with viruses. And I remember there's 2 male doctors, I forgot their name. And there was another doctor, she's from Africa, and she spoke highly against the mRNA vaccine, especially in young children. They explained how virus works, and all those videos on YouTube were taken down at the time as misinformation. So, so now CNN and the CBS local affiliate, and it's WWMT is in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And they are reported on it. So I'm trying to find sources that's mainstream media that's not, that people will not call is a right-wing conspiracy theory. So this is CNN and CBS reporting on this right now.
Now, the doctor you're referring to in California, they are owned urgent care centers or something like that.
Right.
And at the time, I actually did a YouTube video about him. There were problems with the things that he was saying. And, he had said that based on their testing that they did, 2/3 of the country's already had COVID. Well, that wasn't true. And it was pretty obvious at the time if you did a little investigating. But for me, rather than ban the videos and insult the person, call them a conspiracy, counter what he's saying. Say, this is bad information. This is the good information. That, to me, is how free speech works. And the problem is when you do ban these people, call them names and things, there's a whole lot of other people that say, look at that suspiciously. So
absolutely. And I wonder what happens to the parents that's giving their children the vaccination and find out their kids have myocarditis. And worse, some of these young athletes are, they're just have heart attack, and have this sudden death syndrome. And I wonder how they feel about it, So, but I'm sure there's going to be more report coming out as the cases increases. Yeah. But I found that the CNN headline was interesting. It says, this is in May. Let me just reread this headline. I thought that was, and again, these are our Facebook page, and people can go and look at them. And this is all from the good resources. Growing share of COVID-19 deaths are among vaccinated people, but booster shots substantially lower the risk. So, okay.
All right.
All right.
So I have an engineering background. So from the very beginning, I started researching, and I'm really self-taught. So I started researching, virology, immunology, vaccines. So I've taken a lot of time and studied it. And I can tell you that but what's going on with that article is that may be true, but that doesn't mean necessarily that the vaccine is causing people to be more susceptible. Okay, that yeah, but yet the way the headline reads, here's what it sounds like it's telling people: the vaccine, if you're vaccinated, you're at higher risk for getting the virus. So now you get the booster. So in other words, if you've chosen to vaccinate, now you're like a repeat customer.
Right.
You're
Repeat.
addicted to boosters. You're going to have to keep getting them. But if you didn't get vaccinated, you don't need a booster. That's what it sounds like. That's not what it's saying. That's not the situation at all. But that is what it sounds like to people.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, I never even gotten a flu shot. So I'm taking my flu shot is I do apple cider vinegar mixed with water every day. And I went from don't want to drink that water. Now I'm doing 2 to 3 times a day. And so far it's been good.
There is, if you haven't seen the Saturday Night Live this past week, I didn't watch the show, but I watched Dave Chappelle's monologue on YouTube.
Okay.
And then
I
it
love him.
suggested there was a skit it was a barber shop. Everyone in the barber shop is black, and there's one white guy in there. And it's really funny. The white guy keeps saying things that the black people don't agree with at all. And they don't comment. They go, uh-huh. And, they just don't say anything. One of them was the vaccine. He mentions how the vaccine is very safe. And the president of the United States would never recommend it if it wasn't safe. And all the black folks looked at each other and went, okay. And they just they didn't want to talk about it because they knew they were on a completely different page. It's just funny. And I don't know. I just thought of that. Different people have different attitudes towards it. And yeah, we already know the black male population was very skeptical of the vaccine.
Yeah, because of Tuskegee, the whole Tuskegee thing. So,
well, yeah, suspicion of the, system and everything. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. All right.
All right.
So we're going to move on to our next topic.
Yeah. So they did a speech this past week. It's about a half hour long. And, so the Oversight Committee has stated that they're going to investigate by Joe Biden's ties to the Hunter Biden business. If you recall, that story was, it was blocked basically by social media and the mainstream media. And there was even a whistleblower, Tony Bobulinski, who was one of the business partners, who stated that some of those things in there were referring, in those emails and such, were referring to Joe Biden, the big guy. But all of that was suppressed before the election. So they said they're going to investigate. They say they're not investigating Hunter. But they are investigating Joe Biden's potential problems with, taking money from foreign governments, influence, that kind of thing.
Well, Tony Bobulinski was on Tucker before the election.
Right.
And then also, and I understand why they're not investigating Hunter, because we don't need to investigate Hunter, right? The laptop provided all evidence. He has videotapes and emails and everything. So we know Hunter is not kosher at all. But yeah, the big guy, I think there was a couple of emails actually mentioned Joe's by name. And there was some kind of office key they have to make an office key to give it to him and Jill.
Right. Yep.
And, these are like 3 laptops from hell for the Biden family, unfortunately. And I'm just thinking, there was people on the left and saying, why are we spending money to do more investigation? Isn't GOP's whole agenda was supposed to, fix the inflation and make us more energy independent? Then I talked to people on the right, or not even politically, and basically saying, investigate. You go ahead, Well, go ahead.
I mean, you have an oversight committee. Their job is to have some oversight over the president, the government. And you have a judiciary committee. So, the judiciary committee investigation is looking into the Justice Department, the politicization of the Justice Department. And there are a lot of examples. The Trump-Russia thing, but also relative to the Hunter Biden is the early on, a bunch of people from the FBI put out a letter saying that the Hunter Biden laptop had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. Okay. Then that was taken by all the media, including social media, to say this is Russian disinformation, squash it. And so Facebook was I guess it's known that Facebook was pressured by the FBI to filter it. They don't know about Twitter, but chances are it probably was. And, so one of these folks was questioned by Bret Baier, and he asked him about that. And here's what their position is. We didn't say it was Russian disinformation. We said it has all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. So Bret Baier says, yeah, but you saw what the media did with it. You knew what they were going to do with it. And then he says, whoa, we're not responsible for what the media says. So here again, you have nobody's responsible. The media says we're just doing it because the FBI said it. The FBI is saying we didn't say it. Right. Everybody wants to avoid responsibility. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the FBI is responsible because they knew when they released that report what effect it would have. They had to know that. Otherwise, they shouldn't be in the FBI.
Well, I found it is interesting because the FBI knew the dossier on Trump's side was not from Russia, was actually from Hillary and the Democratic committee.
Right.
They knew that from the beginning, but we went ahead and did a 3-year investigation. And I remember Adam Schiff come on every Sunday show. The evidence is right in front of us. And we went through 3 years of investigation, $30 million later. I don't know if you remember. Did you watch the Mueller hearing?
Oh, yeah.
And this Mueller guy was just his credibility was gone in that hearing. Now,
we've been told over 3 years how competent and this was an excellent person. And
what's interesting to me now, is proven the Trump dossier was the Democratic Party and was planned by the Hillary Clinton campaign, and then nobody even talked about it. It just kind of fizzled out. But the whole Hunter Biden laptop thing, they know it was true, right? It was
right.
But then it was Russian disinformation. Now we know it's not Russian disinformation; it's true. But it's so I don't know. I don't even know.
Here's the biggest problem, I think. When they talk about, if you want to talk about a threat to democracy, it's the media not doing their job. It's the media taking sides and not holding government accountable.
What about FBI what about the Justice Department?
It's up to the media not to take the side of the FBI, but to challenge and question it. So back when the Russian stuff first began, as soon as the Democrats started saying that Trump had connections to Russia, okay, Hillary Clinton was being questioned. And someone asked them, well, didn't you pay for a dossier that you used a former UK foreign agent to go to Russia and collect information and then compile that and give it? She admitted, yes, we did that, but that's just Oppo research. And I'm like, wait a minute. It sounds to me like the exact same thing that you're claiming Trump did. And you just admitted it, and the media just let it go. So all along, the conservatives, the Republicans were saying that they had no evidence. All they had was this dossier, that it was taken to the FISA court. It was all the evidence. They kept denying it. They kept saying they had all this information. The media ran with this, especially CNN and MSNBC, over and over and over, 24/7. They talked about the walls are closing in. There's new information. Any person that's not looking at conservative media has the impression that this is a big deal, that there's a lot. It went on for 3 years and they had absolutely nothing. And now it's been proven that all they ever had from the very beginning was that fake dossier.
And
So,
and instead of thinking that Russia, I think should be China, right? I think China has a lot more to do with our election, how they're influencing our media and politicians in our election. If we start investigating a lot of the dark money in politics, we might find there's a lot of money coming in from China. And the FBI director just started saying he's very concerned with these police stations are setting up within the United States, but they're Chinese police stations. Now, can you imagine if America starts setting up police stations in China?
yeah, they wouldn't let it happen.
It would have never happened. So, I think the investigation is important because this investigation is really, I think it is tied to our national security, right?
Yeah.
The $87 billion worth of weaponry that was left in Afghanistan now is in control by the Taliban, but who's behind that is China and Russia.
Right.
So if you look at the actual policy of this administration, and then you look at the policy of Trump administration, which administration was better for China?
Yeah. I mean, you mean to tell me, look at what's going on with Russia and Ukraine right now. And this is what they would have you believe, that Putin would rather Trump be president right now.
I think Trump.
I mean, he can do whatever he wants. He's out of control. I mean,
well, Trump turned off Putin's money well, right? Trump said.
Trump was just a tough guy. He was tough with, North Korea, Kim Jong-un. He started tough, and then he made friends with him. I mean, that's how, Trump was. The whole idea that Putin preferred a Trump presidency because he was controllable was ridiculous. I mean, it's just, again, it really goes back to the media, because I had a friend when I posted some of this stuff on Facebook. It said, well, unfortunately, when the Republicans do investigations or whatever, nothing ever happens. Well, think about it. Nothing ever really happened after all these investigations of Trump. Now, they impeached him on the Ukraine thing, but 3 years of Trump-Russia, nothing happened. It all turned into nothing. But what did they do? Because they have the media, it has the impact that they want. They dramatically impacted elections. I mean, influenced the American people. And that's the problem I have. The media knows that they should look at this and say, look, we're not doing our jobs, okay? The Democrat Party can do whatever they want to the American people by using us. As soon as they leak stuff to the press, it takes on a life of its own.
What I don't understand is, whether you're in the media or not in the media, they're American citizens, right? If you work for CNN, you're an American citizen. You're not a Chinese citizen. So what good is it to speak against America when you have a country that is your adversary are inching closer and closer to dominant the world power? What benefits the United States? What benefits these people specifically? Because if China is the world power, Russia is invading Ukraine, our people are suffering. American people are suffering. I don't understand how is it benefiting them by having the United States to be less than China. I don't see the rationale in it. I just don't see it.
The media's job has always been to hold the government accountable. So their job is to inform the people. Okay, they're supposed to put our interests first. But that's not what they're doing. They're putting the Democrat Party's interests, the left-wing agenda's interests, and they've taken a side in this culture war. And I mean, it
at the end of the day, I'm still
all this damage was done. None of this would have happened. None of this damage could have happened if the media had done their job. Think about that.
Even on the left-wing side, what good is due to them if America is a weaker country?
They don't think
they live in America. everybody lives here. Everybody's we are American citizen. What benefits the left versus the right that if America is weaker than China?
Who's the enemy? If you
Who
were to
is the
ask
enemy?
people, if you were to ask the Democrat Party or people on the left, who are the threat to democracy? Who is the enemy of this country?
Mega
What are they
Republic.
going to tell you?
Mega
You,
Republicans.
you and me, right?
Yeah.
It's the Republicans. It's this far right. I mean, that's the battle they're fighting. It's not China. It's not Russia. And you're right. I mean, so our country is all divided. And I mean, again, I just keep going back to the media. It's like if that's your job, that's when this country was founded. That was the job of the media, was to hold government accountable. And it's
Well,
not
another
happening.
thing I was talking to somebody yesterday. They're like, "Oh, what's the big deal if China takes Taiwan?" And I asked, I said, "Do you understand 95% of the computer chips are manufactured in Taiwan?"
Right.
They're like, "What's the big deal about that?" Well, your computer, your cell phone, the computer chips in your car, it's all controlled. It's all manufactured in Taiwan. If China takes over, then the chip's going to come out of communism government controlled Taiwan, and they can control your car. They can tap into your phone. They can tap your computer. They can tap your smart TV. That's what's at stake, and I'm not sure people
I agree.
understand that.
Uh, you're absolutely right. You know, but I just want to say too, the congressional Republicans should be addressing inflation and crime. Those were their big issues. But you have a judiciary committee and you have an oversight committee, and neither inflation nor crime fall under those committees'
Or this
purviews.
committee,
So,
absolutely.
those committees have a job and they're doing their job. And, how many times have you heard recently from the Democrats, we can walk and chew gum at the same time?
Well,
Okay. So,
just to counter the Republican investigation to the Biden family, the DOJ also announced a special counsel to look into the January 6th or Trump's involvement with January 6th, just so you know. So we're going to have 2 years of GOP investigation, the DOJ investigation on Trump and
right.
on Biden. So nothing will get done. So
That's the
great.
other thing. Yeah, since Trump was elected president, it's even before, that's all the Democrats have done is, investigations and
Yeah.
so
All right, let's talk about this juicy FTX thing.
okay.
The more we were talking about it, you and I, and the more we look into it, the more interesting this has gotten. And I just
Right.
sent you a video on that. And you're a more technical person, so tell the audience your perspective on that.
Well, just I think a summary of what most people know. This Sam Bankman-Fried had the crypto exchange FTX. It's a crypto exchange is like the Nasdaq or the New York Times. They exist to trade in crypto in this case. So they're these private crypto exchanges, and they make money by trading crypto. And everyone knows it's gone bankrupt, and they think about Ponzi scheme. People are losing their money and all that sort of thing. But what happened was he started another company, Alameda Research. Okay, Alameda Research basically runs a hedge fund. And Alameda Research was the number one holder of the the exchange tokens put out by FTX. So real quick, reason that's a problem is because FTX was taking in hundreds of millions of dollars from investors. They were putting their money in their own crypto token. That's where they would sort of park it, if you will. It wasn't in cash, it was in their token. And then the value of that token kept going up and up. But they were manipulating the value of that token by Alameda Research. Alameda Research was the biggest trader and holder of the FTT token. So this guy, his girlfriend or former girlfriend, was the CEO of Alameda Research. And they were manipulating the value of this token was basically worth nothing. So they were creating, fake value. People were investing their money. The flip side of him, and this is what makes it interesting, is he seemed to be, investing in or caring about charities and making the world a better place. And he invested quite a bit of money in politicians, more in Democrats than in Republicans, something to the tune of $40 million in the last election.
Right.
So there's questions about, what relationship did he have with these politicians? That's kind of, I think, it in a nutshell.
I think his mother is a professor and his dad is an attorney. And I think Sam's father once wrote legislation for Elizabeth Warren. Just that was I will put that link on that. And also there's a lawsuit against FTS, and they name a bunch of celebrities: Tom Brady, Giselle, Stephen Curry, Shaquille O'Neal. There's a class action lawsuit for $11 billion worth of damage.
11 billion.
11 billion. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I don't know if you remember, the cryptocurrency market collapsed also in July. There was a South Korean company went from worth $3 billion to 3,600 overnight within 72 hours. Do you remember that?
Which one was it? Which token?
It was a company in South Korea.
I don't remember it. No.
Yeah. Remember I asked you when that whole thing collapsed, are you investing in cryptocurrency? I was a stockbroker in my previous life. When the cryptocurrency was explained to me, I just can't understand it. I feel like it's created from air. We're trading air. There's no industry behind it. There's no service behind it. There's nothing behind it. It is purely air.
If you buy stock in a company, then there's a company behind it that gives it inherent value. Now, the company could fold, it could go out of business and you lose your value, but as long as the company's there and they report publicly and things, but with crypto, the only value in your crypto is the fact that somebody else is willing to pay more for it than you did. That's really it. It doesn't have any inherent value whatsoever.
No, and if you look at Bitcoin, I remember Bitcoin before July was worth 50 at one point was 53,000.
Yeah, it hit like 60,000 and it's down,
Now it's at 16,000 a share, but still, the government is not behind it. You can't even trade this in the regular market. Just really interesting. They questioned. Let me see. What is that lady's name? She's going to be investigating.
Caroline Ellison, the CEO of Alameda, his girlfriend or former girlfriend.
No,
there's some really interesting angles to this that we haven't gotten into yet.
You're right. So Maxine Waters is organizing an investigation. She's the head of the committee for investigating FTX. Okay. First of all, I think if you want investigating a financial crime, shouldn't you get someone that's expert in that area? I mean, I think Mrs. Waters has been a congresswoman for a long time. I'm not sure her knowledge in this sophisticated trading of a cryptocurrency market. That's number one. Number two, she said, oh, you know what? He gave money to both sides. So apparently in 2020, Sam has given $10 million to Joe Biden's campaign. And this past election, he gave $40 million. And I thought the timing was interesting, is right before the general election was on November 8th this year.
Was it $40 million just to the Biden campaign or total to Democrats?
Total to Democrat.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know how much he gave to Republican? $11,000. But he's bipartisan. He said he gave money to both parties, right? Republican and Democrat. So we're talking about $40 million versus $11,000. And the timing of the collapsing is interesting. It was 3 days before the general election. So November 8th, and then the whole bankruptcy happened 72 hours prior to the general election. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, I tried to investigate this, connection to the Democrats. And, one of the questions that they're asking, should the candidates give their money back? The press is asking these people, should you return? And some have. If you read the news, you'll see people who were given $3,000 and $2,000, thousands of dollars are, quote, giving it back. But the people who were given $1 million, and this Carrick Flynn in Oregon, she was given $10 million. He was put millions of dollars into primary candidates. Some of the big money people that he invested in didn't win. But none of them are giving their money back.
Well,
It's only the real small ones. So, it gives this appearance that the Democrats are giving their money back, but they're really not.
Well, I look at Sam Bankman-Fried as he's like the Fetterman of the cryptocurrency market. And I'm not sure people know, but he also bought position in a hedge fund to hedge against his own company. So he's not he's not hurting.
Right.
Because he went from net worth of $26 billion as of November 7th, which that was right before he filed bankruptcy. He's still worth $16 billion. So I just wanted to look into his father because there was an interesting article on his dad. Sam Bankman-Fried's father. Sam Bankman-Fried drafted tax legislation for Elizabeth Warren and donated thousands to Democrat Party.
Yep.
So just that's his dad's tie to the Democratic Party. This kid is fairly young. I mean, we can't assume he has so much political connection, and he just seems like a kid.
Yeah. Well, here's my explanation of him giving money to the politicians. So I did some digging, and he is a adherent. He studied utilitarian philosophy. He got this from his mother. I guess his father was into it too. His father was, tax law. I think he works in the medical department at Stanford, but his mother is focused on the intersection of law, economics, and moral philosophy. She specialized in risk and harm. She's written books on this. And so they're described as effective altruists, okay? And basically what all this means is a utilitarian tries to use data and, rationality to do the right action that produces the most good for the most people. Okay. And it's literally a philosophy that says the ends justifies the means. Okay. So he's making all this money, and it's typical in a utilitarian person to say, well, I'm making a lot of money, but I'm donating a lot too. I'm giving a lot to charity. I'm giving a lot of money to Democrats because I, believe that this is going to make the world a better place. So they kind of, as a philosophy, they say that's a moral good. And effective altruists are the same thing. It's similar. They figure out how to benefit others, as many people as possible, and take action. They often donate to charities and social causes. His girlfriend, Carolyn Ellison, has spoken on effective altruism. There were 10 of his classmates from MIT. They all lived together in the Bahamas. They're in the Bahamas, so they didn't fall under U.S. law. But so my point being, he has a foundational philosophy and a worldview, and all of his actions are consistent with that. So I think he gave money to the politicians because he believed in the social causes. And, it's the same reason why he gave money to, charities and things.
Yeah, he appeared to be this down to earth person, but I understand they live in a $40 million mansion in the
Well, that's the
Bahamas.
conflict. I mean, I think his philosophy explains the conflict between someone who's doing clearly immoral, wrong things, but yet he has a history of being a caring person, helping out charities and donating time and money and things like that.
Well,
So,
I mean, here's the thing. If you are skimming so much money of people, this is basically a public funded lifestyle. He
mhm,
has no industry. They live in a mansion they live off this cryptocurrency, basically it's air. It's
right.
inflated value on their own. The media inflated all this. He has clearly politician friends that help him cover things up. I mean, we I don't understand why our Justice Department doesn't go to the Bahamas and get him back because we have jurisdiction over there.
Yeah.
I mean, Madoff is in jail, for the Ponzi scheme, what he did.
Yeah.
So I think he doesn't have the money to pay back his investors. Besides Tom Brady, Shaquille O'Neal, all those people, the celebrities lost money. We're talking about everyday people that
Oh,
probably put
yeah.
a lot of their savings in this cryptocurrency because the media kind of gave him this great reputation. And so they put their money into this. I mean, we're talking about people's livelihood here being affected.
Hmm.
So I commend that lawyer trying to sue for $11 billion. You hope some of these people get their money back. I mean, Giselle and Tom Brady, Steve Curry, they can still play basketball, play football, get an endorsement. What about people waiting tables? Go out to get up to work every day. How are they going to recoup?
Right. Well,
So
here's part of the problem. From what I read, our Security Exchange Commission laws are applicable to, the stock market, equities trading. They don't apply to crypto, or
yes,
most of them, the bulk of them don't, or it's a gray area.
it's a
So
gray area.
the U.S. is seriously lacking in laws to protect against this, and to make it even worse, they're in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of murky.
Yeah, I have
But
friends told me you need to start buying some cryptocurrency. And I didn't know, I was never interested in crypto just because for the pure reason I was in the financial business and I don't
yeah,
trust anything that trading from air. So when I found out it wasn't trade on NASDAQ or the stock exchange, I thought, this is very strange. I just can't take, I don't care if people are making millions of dollars.
hmm
Um,
well, his belief system, and it's really like a religion. It's
mhm.
people that have a philosophy and a worldview, but it's kind of like Robin Hood. So remember Robin Hood, rob from the rich, give to the poor. It
Right.
would be like that if Robin Hood robbed from the rich and gave 10-20% of it to the poor and kept the rest for himself. That's their philosophy. As long as I'm giving that 10-20%, making the world a better place, there's not a problem with me making my money, and it doesn't matter how I do it.
Well,
That's
isn't
that's
that
his.
most of the
That's like a religion to them.
well, I understand most of the charity in this country is you raise money, but you can only give 10 to 12%. That's what happened with the Clinton Foundation, right?
You can give as much as you want. I think there are limits to deductions, but
Right.
there's no limit to how much money you can give to charity.
So I remember when they investigated the Clinton Foundation, wasn't that 90% went to administrative expenses?
Yeah, which is salaries, like the daughter and them.
Right, right. So what's that?
Yeah.
Well, I just have to say, every Monday, we committed to do this show every Monday. And when we started to do this, I thought, oh, how are we going to come up with things to talk about? And now, as we go into episode 3, I think we can talk about it for 3 hours if we want to. There's so much. And
Yeah.
I know people out there listening, and I'm getting some feedback. So I please subscribe to our channel if you like to, our episodes. And
But
it's been such fun to do this.
absolutely.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I know you're closing, but I printed something out. I just want
Go
to talk
ahead.
about it real quick.
Please do.
CBS did a tweet.
Okay.
Okay. This tweet, CBS News
Oh, I
PR.
know what you're
So
going to
that,
talk about.
what's
I know
that?
what you're going to talk about. Please say it. It's so hilarious.
It's November 20th, 22 at 8:36 a.m. So what they did, all this stuff about, Elon Musk taking over Twitter, the world's going to come to an end, the Nazis are going to all rise to power. I mean, it's this whole narrative. So CBS, basically boycotted Twitter. They said, we are not putting anything on Twitter. So on the 20th, they came back out. Here's their tweet. And
I love it.
it's joke. After pausing for much of the weekend to assess the security concerns, CBS News and stations is resuming its activity on Twitter as we continue to monitor the situation.
And did you see the Elon Musk reply?
I don't. What
It
was
was an
his reply?
emoji. You have to look at it. I'm gonna.
Okay.
I think I screenshotted it, and I will post that on our Facebook
Well,
page.
I mean, look at the drama behind this, but it's really, again, it's the news. They're making the news. I mean, there was no basis for any of these concerns about Elon Musk. I mean, these people seem to be worried so much about other, disinformation on some side. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. And they need to be worried about what impact they're having. And I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, it makes a story out of nothing. It's
Well,
shameful to me that a news media would do. I mean, it's funny, but it's not really either, because this is influencing how people view Elon Musk in the Twitter situation, and it keeps reinforcing we've got a bunch of bad Americans out there, and they're going to tear the country down if we don't fight them. I
well,
mean,
I
there
have
are
to tell
bad
you,
people out there, but they're not all, it's not all the Republicans, it's a small number. I mean, these are the same people that told us we're not allowed to say the words Muslim terrorists because not all Muslims are terrorists. But they're
right?
doing the same thing now.
Well, I have to tell you one thing. I had a Twitter account for years. I don't understand Twitter. I'm a Facebook person. I never really went on Twitter, but ever since Elon Musk took over Twitter, it
Uh-huh.
is so entertaining. His replies are just gold. I mean, just gold. Some of his things he replied to different people. I saw that CBS tweet this morning, so I looked at his reply. It was total gold.
What was his reply? I don't remember it.
It was an emoji like he's holding like his, it was like
Oh,
an emoji like, oh, like you're coming back.
like drama queen type of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
I absolutely.
he's great.
One more thing I want to talk about it too. I know there's a lot of negative things said about Nancy Pelosi, and I want to say this much: Nancy Pelosi voluntarily resigned from the leadership position of the Democratic Party.
Right.
Whether you like the women or not, she is extremely effective speaker. She was a very effective leader for the Democratic Party.
Right.
You
Yeah,
can agree or
absolutely.
disagree with her philosophy, the way she does things, because I saw a lot of memes on on Facebook, Twitter saying, "Oh, the witch is gone." The witch is gone. No one kicked her out. She voluntarily quit, and she hold
Wow.
that leadership.
Wow.
You know what I mean? She
Yeah.
hold that leadership
Fauci
position.
retired too. There's a theory behind this, okay,
There's
with
a
the
theory behind it, but you
with the
can.
with the Republicans taking control, Fauci retired partially, at least I believe, because he's avoiding being investigated. He figures if he's out of the limelight, not part of that, they'll just leave him alone. And Pelosi might be doing the same thing. I mean, the stuff that they did to Trump, I mean, for all part of me, and I don't have any basis for this, but part of me wondered if she didn't do that. And it could be because she's just getting older
Well,
and
or
she's
and then,
finished. But
or
it
and
makes me
maybe.
wonder if she's trying to just not be that lightning rod and lay low because of some of the slimy things that were done.
Well, what about, and I think have a lot to do with Paul Pelosi, the whole.
Could be personal, yeah.
I was watching, this is Channel 11 in California. Again, it's a local station affiliated with Channel 11, NBC. And they reported on the fact that there was this thing about who opened the door. And
Right.
it was somehow not reported because some report says Paul Pelosi opened the door himself and then it was taken out. Again, this is an NBC affiliated local station saying that. But again,
Yeah. I
I want to
downloaded
be
the video before they deleted it.
right.
So I have it.
I want to be fair. I want to be fair to say whether you agree with her or disagree with her. If you don't like her, if you're on the right, you don't like Nancy Pelosi, that means she's doing her job for her party. She has been a very effective speaker. The Democratic Party seemed to be all scared of her because she knows how to raise large amount of money. However that money came from, she raised a large amount of money for the Democratic Party. And as a woman in, being in politics for so long, and I want to commend her on that side, but at the same time, I know you're shaking your head, but I'm just saying you got to be fair, right? To be standing in the leadership position for that long and then get out of the way. Now, we'll see what Mitch McConnell's going to do on the Republican side.
I'm having a hard time with it.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
It's
the 3 year. I can't get past 3 years of basically nothing. 3 years of a lie. And they do this because they don't have to prove anything. They know they put stuff into the media. It goes circles around in the media. It's all fabricated. It's all made up, but it's just bouncing around out in the media world that, it looks like it's true because you have what used to be reputable media companies reporting on it. And she just let all this happen. I mean, yeah, I guess she's good for her party, but is she good for the United States of America?
No, I mean, yeah, that's what I said. She's an effective leader for her party, not necessarily for America, but for her party. And then what she's doing, she has nothing to do with the media. The media can choose to report the truth, but the media choose not to report the truth.
Well, she uses the media. You're right. The media can't point and say it's her fault. Absolutely not. Their job is to hold her accountable. But
and they're not holding her accountable.
No, exactly. So to your point, if I were to say, let's pretend Nancy Pelosi was totally responsible for the three. It wasn't. Schiff was involved, but let's just pretend. I blame the media more than I blame her because, to your point, she's just looking out for the interests of her party.
That's her job, right? She's a leader for her party. Right. That's her job.
I'm not saying it's okay. I don't think that gives you a license. Like FTX, this guy thinks it's okay for him to rip people off because he's doing a greater good. I don't believe in that kind of, way of looking at things. But the media is clearly the biggest problem. Their job is to hold this accountable and to inform us. I have a real problem the fact that we're not informed. The people of the United States of America are not properly informed. And it's not conspiracy theories that are the problem. I believe that, conspiracy theories are like way, way wrong, okay? But they're only believed by a small number of people, and they're propagated by people with very little influence. But the media may not be as wrong. They might be more of a spin machine, and but their influence is thousands of times greater.
Okay, we got to be careful with
they're the ones that are influenced what people think and believe to be true, and that comes a big responsibility.
So let's be careful with the conspiracy theorist, right? Myocarditis was considered a conspiracy. Now they're investigating it. Now they're doing.
Well, there are real conspiracies, and then there are conspiracy theories.
Yeah. So, but the problem is a lot of things that was considered conspiracy are slowly leaking into the mainstream media. It's not on the top of the page. Now it's not the headline. but it's hidden somewhere out there being reported, and people are seeking it out. So, yeah, so that's why the public distrusts the media, right? You tell us something a year and a half ago that this is completely safe, do it. Now you're telling us, oh, wait a second, it's actually not safe. And the mRNA vaccine, most people was talking about it before and say, hey, this mRNA vaccine, we have to really look into it. Those people being suppressed, but now they're saying, oh, wait, mRNA vaccine does have these effects.
Right.
So, I gotta tell you, one thing we blame the media, another thing we have to blame is the American public. Majority of the public do not want to be informed. I remember
They what? I'm sorry. The
they don't
majority
want to
what?
be informed. They don't want to be informed.
Oh,
Right?
right.
I remember I was arguing with a
They
friend
want
of
to be
mine.
validated.
Yeah,
They want to be told that what they already believe is true.
right. I remember I was arguing with a friend of mine about politics. And I said, look, you watch 30 minutes NBC headline at night doesn't give you all what you need to know. And clearly I'm going to say more informed, but I'm into politics more than she does. So then I found out she gets her perspective from Alyssa Milano on Twitter. So everything she tells me about her political perspective is from Alyssa Milano. I'm not saying Alyssa Milano should not have her own personal political opinions, but don't talk to me as authoritative if you get your news from Alyssa Milano on Twitter.
Right.
Okay? Just because you like the soap opera charm. I mean, but we might be really surprised how many people get influenced by such a thing. How many people
Sure.
got influenced by Tom Brady, Stephen Curry, and Shaquille O'Neal to get into FTX and lost
Right.
money? So I think people just have to always question and do some research on their own.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to leverage your life's experience too, or at least talk to people. I mean, my business and engineering background gives me a very different perspective on it than I see what a lot of people have. And I mean, but to your point, you're right. The American people don't want this. And I don't believe the number one reason the media is doing what they're doing is because of ideology, because of their left-wing agenda. It's because of money. They're playing to an audience.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, we've got 24-hour news stations. News is boring over and over and over. So you have all these commentary analysis people, and they're the highest rating shows. So Tucker Carlson, the woman that was with MSNBC, Rachel Maddow. Okay,
Joy Reid.
these are the shows that people watch. But what people don't realize is they're kind of trying to make the news entertaining. They're putting their own spin on it and things like that. But it's not real news.
They tell
And,
you what you want to hear.
well,
so
yeah,
you feel
exactly. They're
validated.
playing. Everyone's playing to an audience, and
Right or left.
I mean, I heard that CNN, they had the COVID ticker, how many people were dying of COVID,
Right.
running. And they showed their viewership was up while they were running the ticker. So they kept running the ticker. When they reported negatively on Trump, their ratings went up. I think the CEO at the time admitted to this. So they keep reporting more negative on. So it's all about money for them. They're
Right.
playing to an audience like it's an entertainment thing. So, that's the main reason. It's not because of their, agenda, but the agenda is still there. So, Fox News was one of the first because they came out playing to an audience,
Right.
an underserved conservative audience. And, CNN, MSNBC MSNBC always was like that, but CNN really picked it up with Trump.
Yeah, they
And-
did, and so as the late night comedians, because Steve Colbert was tanking in ratings until he started to go after Trump, and then his rating went up. But now they all going down again because people are just sick of it, So,
Yeah.
well, this was, I
Yeah, I'm
said,
kind of going. I mean, this stuff really gets me going. These stories, this media. But
yeah. Well, doesn't seem like we're gonna ever run out of things to talk about. I'm sure there's some big headlines coming next. But this has been so much fun. Please subscribe to us, and then we have more interview coming up. we had some great interviews last week, you know.
Yes.
So Bob's still working on a
I
few
have two I still have to edit and release. Yeah.
add and release, and we're gonna bring you more content. And well, and this is before Thanksgiving, so we wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll
Yes.
see you after.
Yep. Thank you, Sherry.
Okay, have a good one.
All right. Bye.